Hey guys, Gotham Geek Girl here, and I am joined by AP Nerds.
Hi, how's everyone doing?
Super excited. We actually met at the Last of Us premiere for the HBO's first episode, and
Yep.
super excited. Now we're finally going to get to like recap together. This season flew by.
Yeah, I know. This season is just absolutely amazing. When I thought season like episode 1 wasn't gonna like it was good. I didn't know episode 2 was gonna be like better than that, and then episode 3 gets better, and episode 4 gets better. It's just this show completely blew me away, like in expectations and everything. It was, and
Absolutely.
I cannot believe we're already like one episode left.
I know, it's crazy. And like episode 8, oh my God. I saw you gave it, what was it, a 9.5 out of 10?
9.5 out of 10, yes.
Absolutely, I totally agree. This episode had me shook. It was crazy because like this episode, it was called When We Are in Need, and this was the second to last episode of the season, and it introduced a new villain, David. It kind of showed like this journey that Ellie was going on when she kind of starts to go down the dark path. And she crosses paths with the vengeful group of survivors who we meet, David and James, which is Troy Baker. For fans of the game, he was the voice of Joel in the games. So it was really cool to see him in this and play villain. Basically, Ellie crosses paths with this group, and she draws the attention of their leader when she like shoots down a deer, and they find it, and then they find her, and like they kind of start conversing and trying to find out information from each other. But Ellie has learned to like not trust people, and rightfully so, which we see later. This guy's crazy, and what the show did different from the game is that they kind of made it like a little religious aspect. But there weren't that many changes. It was pretty much almost scene for scene, like word for word. They just had like a minor few different things. Like they kind of cut out a lot of like action parts. Ellie and David shoot sorry, they basically try to get away from like a herd, and they kind of
Yeah,
fight
yeah,
a bit
exactly. And
together.
exactly in the games is usually, I think, they get together, they get the deer into like this secluded location, and then out of nowhere these clickers come out of nowhere, then the runners come, then they beat them, and then they go into like a little another location inside where like a bloater comes down. It's a nice, like, infected fight and everything. And it wasn't in this show, but in my opinion it wasn't really needed, because in this episode, and at least the whole show, really showed you one thing, which, and the game also says this as well: the infected is not really the actual main point of the story. It's the people and what the people go through, and just them focusing on giving a more cynical aspect to David, and focusing more on the personal relationships and what they have to go through with people. Like, I think they actually nailed it in this episode.
Absolutely. I call this one the Cannibal Resort. Basically, David was played by Scott Shepherd, and he was kind of like a religious zealot. And obviously, we saw later on they delved into cannibalism, which was similar to the game as well. When Ellie's in the cage, she actually sees somebody like chopping up a body. And in this, we kind of saw that too. And these people were creepy. Definitely, I like the way that they made David the whole religious aspect and how he was formerly a teacher, because I think that added a little more context. And like you said, like in the games, it was a little more focused on the zombie aspect because clearly you need gameplay. But for the show, I think it worked perfectly that they gave us a little inch of like more history into his story and like what made him like this chilling like cult like leader, and why people are like kind of scared of him, but also why they look up to him and like believe in him.
Yeah,
And
and I actually like that they did that too, because, like, I would say religious people, and or when it comes to leaders, like, they're very good with how they speak, and they know how to really, I wouldn't say manipulate people. In this case, of course, you kind of make them do whatever you want, but, like, religious people usually know how to kind of like lead the sheep in that sense. And there's even a little quote where he's like talking to like his people like as sheep. Like, he said, I used to be a teacher before, and now I'm like this pastor, even though that's not really what I want to be. I'm doing it to like lead these people. They can do whatever I want and stuff like that. So I like how they kind of like gave a little more, like, an extra layer to David's like persuasion, why he is the leader and why he's doing what he's doing. And I don't know. I think that little change was like very good. I know some people, and I've seen on social media, some people get a little mad that, oh, he's a religious, guy or whatever. But at the end of the day, it makes sense to his personality. I really did enjoy that little change that he did with David, and
and
it
then
makes
also
Yeah,
Oh,
it makes
sorry.
it, no, sorry, and kind of makes him look a little creepier too. I don't know. It's just I like the change. Yeah.
I think also too, like being that these villains aren't like, let's say the governor in The Walking Dead, you're with him for like seasons and like so many like hours of episodes. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like important with this show when a character is such a like crazy like monster villain, but only in one episode to be able to translate that, like you have to kind of add a little more depth to the character. And they made him chilling and frightening. And like you were just saying, like I think that completely added so much to his character.
Yeah, and I actually now I'm gonna feed out upon what you just said with The Walking Dead. I feel like with The Walking Dead, at least this is just a personal opinion. Like sometimes they drag villains' stories way too long, and it makes the quality drop a little bit. And actually, the way that HBO just made us like feel, intimidated by a man like this in just one episode, complete his begin his arc and complete his arc in just one episode. What, like 50 minutes? I think the episode was, and like from beginning to end, it felt quality. It felt, like he was well written, like he served a purpose to the story, a purpose to like, Ellie and who will she will basically become later on. Like, yeah, I think they just did a fantastic job. It didn't overstay its welcome. It gave us what it needed, and it ended perfectly in my opinion.
And another like little change was after she gets shot, after the horse gets shot and she falls in the game, she doesn't just automatically
Pass out.
pass out, but
Yeah.
she kind of like starts picking them off one by one and attacking them before she's grabbed by David, who actually puts her in a chokehold, and later she wakes up in the kitchen cage. But I think
Exactly.
this was just as frightening. Like it still conveyed the same thing. She still ended up waking up in this like scary place. Like, what's going on? Oh my God, is that a human body right there? Like she's locked up, trying to figure out how to get out. So that's like such a minor change that I still think that in the amount of time that they have to convey this episode, like everything was done perfectly, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like the cut scenes. Oh, well, I'll consider a cut scene like not having like action in certain parts. Like in the game, you understand, of course, and you said it before. It's because it's a video game. You need to entertain, the gamer. But in this case, I just like that they're focusing more on the personal aspects. Oh, sorry. There we go. I just like that they're focusing more on the personal aspects, and you know, I feel like sometimes action is fillery. It's not, it doesn't, it sometimes it does serve a purpose. Like, for example, in episode 5, where it did serve a purpose on showcasing like the bloater comes out, all these clickers come out, all these runners come out, boom, the hunters go down, but you feel scared for Ellie, you feel scared for Sam and Henry, and you see Joel like being like desperate. He's like, oh my God, where do I shoot? I have to protect Ellie. It serves a purpose to the story. The action serves a purpose, but sometimes if you had a bloater scene in this case, I mean, what purpose would it serve? What purpose would it serve to have all these runners going, everywhere? I don't know. I just feel like them focusing on the personal stuff, on like the characters and everything, perfect. I mean, you don't really need to just oversaturate us with infected. We understand the point. I mean, The Last of Us has always been known as a people story, and they just the reason, and I like that they just focus on that, and I'm happy. Yeah.
Did you have any like feelings towards, like, it's another minor change, but instead of Joel finding her after in the game, Joel finds her literally like right after she like wails on David.
You know,
Did that bother you at all?
A little bit. I'll be honest, like the reason why I gave this episode a 9.5 out of 10 is for two reasons. And I think I made a video about it where the reason number one is, yeah, I did like it more on the game where Joel finds Ellie while she's like completely slicing David up. Yeah. Cause I feel like Joel seeing that from Ellie, seeing that dark side from Ellie would make him understand more why she's traumatized later on. And I just feel like it just adds a layer more to their relationship, just him witnessing that and like right after hugging her, saying, "Don't worry, I got you. Everything is gonna be fine." And then he calls her baby girl, something that he didn't call anyone for 20 years because of course Sarah died and everything. I feel like, and plus, like, just I don't know, it's like from something sadistic to something so loving at like in a second. It feels great. And I feel like in this show, yeah, I guess it's a creative choice. It doesn't really bother me, but I prefer it in the game. And reason two, I didn't like that sequence. It's not even really the scene because I think Pedro Pascal was amazing and Bella Ramsey was just phenomenal in the performances. Like that's perfect. But I didn't like the music change. I don't know if you noticed that in the game, if I'm not mistaken, it's an all gone soundtrack, like a different version from it used in that scene. And for me, it felt more passionate, it felt more emotive, it felt, to the point where like it made me cry every time I would see that scene in the game. Makes me cry. When I watched it on the episode this time and it didn't feature that song, it lost a little bit of the emotion. It lost me a little bit. And although the performances were great, I was just like, they missed it just by a tiny bit. And for me, music is very important. And I don't understand why they just, did that change. It wasn't necessary. And Neil Druckmann did say that he was going to do changes, or they were going to do changes if it was better. And if not, it was going to stay the same. And in this case, I just didn't understand the music change. And they did also something similar with the ranch scene in episode 6, where they did change the music between Ellie and Joel when she was like confessing, like, oh, like, everyone left me except for you and stuff. They did change the music, and that also did bother me. And those little things, I mean, I might be sounding like a negative person here, but I mean, music makes a story sometimes for me. And yeah, that did kind of bother me.
I could see that. Like in that scene, it's very impactful. Like I guess playing the game is also a little different than watching. But for me, playing that scene in the kitchen was always one of my favorites because it was so terrifying. Like
Yeah.
just hiding and like trying not to like get burned and trying not to get shot. Like that scene was really frightening playing it. I think I would have liked them to like slow it down just a little bit for the episode, just for it. I know it's like high action, but I also feel like it could have been just a couple minutes longer because like it was just so terrifying playing that scene. And then
Mhm.
like with what you just said, I think it was a little more impactful for me as well in the game with Joel finding her.
Yeah.
Because like she was saying like get off of me. Like she did kind of do that in this a little bit, but I think it's more scary in the game because it was like at that exact moment he finds her and she's all covered in blood and going crazy, like completely lost her mind. But
Mhm.
Bella like was phenomenal in this episode, and any like negative thoughts I had pre-casting, I'm like she's Ellie. She
Yeah.
sold me. She's Ellie.
Yeah, episode 1 convinced me a little bit of, like, Ellie, but episode 2, like, I was like, "Nah, that's Ellie." And then after that, she just gets better and better and
Mhm.
better, and this episode, like, if they don't give her an Emmy for this, like, I'm sorry, like, I this performance was terrifyingly good. Um, I don't know if, you may agree with me on this, but the scene where David has her, pinned down, and there's this little change that I actually like that they did to make David feel more cynical and more like he was basically like, saying like, "Oh, you don't know me. You don't know what I'm capable of." And that line is from the game, but then he adds something later saying like, "Oh, this is what I like. Like this is the scene that I like, you desperate or whatever." And he starts taking his pants off, and you know exactly what's going to happen. And then after that, like Ellie's like scream is like horrifyingly, like it was just that gave me chills because I can only imagine that must be such a horrible state to be in. And then, good that she gets like a machete and boom, slices him up. But like that feeling that gets to you, like, wow, like this, this episode is just too good. Oh my God. Wow. Just the raw emotions from Ellie there. It felt real. And
Oh,
that's what I loved about it. It just felt real. I completely forgot I was watching a show. And I don't know, like eh, eh, you get like the superhero instincts. Oh, I want to save her. Like, like when you see that, oh my God. It was great. It was great.
yeah, I think this was one of those episodes that like gamers were like waiting for because you're like, I just can't wait to see like Bella like knock this out the park, and
Mhm.
she totally did.
Oh yeah, she
And
did. Yeah.
how else did you? Oh, sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I was gonna say like this is my favorite section of the video game. And I'm just happy that HBO did justice to, you know, showcase it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, how did you feel about, because it's also like different in the game, like when you play the different perspectives, like some parts you'll play as Joel, some parts you'll play as Ellie. Do you
Mhm.
think they kind of did a good job with this, showing like when Joel wakes up, like he's so scared, like, oh my God, where's Ellie? Like I need to find her. And when he takes out the henchman, like the guy that he questioned, well, I call them henchmen, but the crew, the townspeople, because
Mhm.
remember everyone's kind of not necessarily the bad guy in their own eyes, but the guys that he takes out to get information from. Do you like how that was portrayed?
Yeah, I think they kind of did a setup to that with episode 7, like, the DLC, the Left Behind DLC, where it focused more on Ellie, and it was, you know, Bella's turn to take the role. And I think it was a nice decision to put the DLC episode before this one, because it introduced us to, you know, Bella's performance and what she can do alone. And I think it just perfectly, it was the perfect decision in that sense. In the game, it flowed perfectly because you're Joel this time, and then you get Ellie. You know, you start playing as Ellie, but you already created a connection with her where you're like, okay, that's gonna be fun. I want to play as Ellie. Just the way they did it in HBO, I think it was well done. By introducing us to her to like her flashback stuff, and yeah, and she just nailed it, nailed it with episode 8. Wow, like yeah, they did a great job.
They even like did kind of almost like scene for scene where she reveals to David that she's infected and that
Yeah,
like she bit him and then like
yeah,
she stabs James. Like that was poor Joel, poor Troy Baker, but
yeah,
it
yeah.
was
I
kind
felt
of
bad
like
for
weird to see her kill Joel,
yeah.
like Troy Baker.
I felt bad for Troy Baker, man, because I don't know the man, but I love that man. Like he's in every video game or whatever, but that man is just, he's great. I heard, I have actually like a YouTuber friend. He's not like super big in YouTube, but he had like a 4 minute interview with him when Troy Baker was doing like a Q, like a live Q&A. He was talking with like that guy for like 4 minutes, I think it was. And like he says like he was one of the most, like when it comes to like actors, when it comes to like people who are like in, you know, big scenes like this, in movies or in shows or in games, like he's one of the most humble people like that he's seen and talked to, and that's actually amazing. That just makes me fall in love with Troy Baker even more, man. Like that man is awesome. If I can ever one day interview him or just talk to him, man, that would be a pleasure.
Yeah, I feel like him being in the show was like an Easter egg, like a fun
Yeah.
concept for like the gamers because you're like, oh my god, that's like technically Joel.
Yeah, and I have a question for you. What do you think about, because the next episode they're going to show Ashley Johnson as Ellie's mom.
Yes.
So, are you excited to see that? Like what do you think they, I don't know. Like I'm a little nervous because I really wanted to just give a few minutes just for her to shine. And that's I don't know, like are you excited to see her? What do you think like about
Yes.
that?
So for those of you that don't know, she's actually the voice of Ellie in the games. So
Mhm.
this is another like magical moment for like the gamers to like
Oh
see
yeah.
like the actors in this being portrayed like as other characters. That's really cool. I'm super excited for the finale. I mean, I just really love the way they translated this for television. I'm just worried that like people that don't know the games aren't. I'm very like it's gonna be like very indecisive and like a crossroads for people because like when people say like, oh, I can't wait for a season two, I'm like, but do we want a season two? Because I'm like, I absolutely want one, but at the same time I don't. It's just I want people to like watch it for themselves and see how they'll feel, and without giving any context to season two, I just feel like the finale is going to be a very tough pill for people to swallow.
Yeah, and Bella Ramsey did say, I think it was a few days ago before episode 8 came out, that episode 8 and episode 9 were going to divide people, or it was going to be divisive because of like the stuff that they were going to show. And at least with what they did with episode 8, and they added those little things with David's character and what he was saying and doing. If they do similar things to episode 9, I think this is gonna be a goated show, in my opinion, because it's been good for every single episode. And if 9 can just deliver, I'm sorry. I don't know what other video game adaptation can top this at this moment in time, at least for me, because this it's the journey has been incredible. And I really do hope that they actually deliver with what she said a few days ago when it comes to that. I love the conversation. I love when the internet goes crazy over the Last
Yeah.
of Us and all the divisive topics, because I don't know, it's nice. It's just nice to see different opinions, to be honest.
And then the game, it's so like fundamental in terms of storytelling. Like it was already magical in itself, and then it being translated to television is introducing like the amazing game to like new viewers. And
Hmm.
then what I love, it's like it was very what's what I'm looking for, like innovative,
Hmm.
but also in terms of like representation, it took a lot of chances. And
Yeah.
that's what I love that the show is also sticking to because that's very important to the progress of the story as we go further. So I just think they did an absolutely amazing job.
Yeah, I'm really happy. Like for example, episode 3 and episode 7, like they, when it comes to representation, when it comes to portraying characters that are usually not portrayed in normal media, or at least in the past, they did a phenomenal job in making me care for them, and that is all I ask for. You want to put in your media anything, make it good, make sure that the whatever you're writing, whatever you're developing, make sure that we fall in love with the characters, with the world. That should be number one priority. Everything else, when it comes to because of me as a Latino, I will love me some Latino characters, but what I would like is for you to, like, if you're going to do that, make them interesting, make me fall in love with them, and whatever comes after that comes after that. And I'm just very happy that that's exactly what they did.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Um, I don't know. I guess one of the things that I also enjoyed about, I guess, episode 8 is just is the actual, like, the emotion. I want to go back to the scene, just like the Ellie and Joel hugging scene. Like, I don't understand how it could have been done better. Well, of course, the music, right? It could have been better in that sense, but just the way Joel and Ellie just meshed together in that, I just want to just put that out because, like, I've seen a lot of people going crazy over that, and I just want to say it here, just the way that they look at each other, the way they feel like father and daughter, the way it literally feels earned. Like, I don't know, like, I always go back to that scene every time because it's one of my favorite scenes, and I'm just happy that just them two did exactly what they needed to do. And I don't know, it's gonna stay in the history books. That's for me one of the, like, just great scenes of all time when it comes to that. I don't know, like, this show just got me crazy, and I cannot wait for episode 9. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
that's
also happy too because like AP Nerds is like a huge, absolutely like just like me, like obsessed with the Last of Us franchise. Like have played the games like number and number of times every couple years, and just to see this an adaptation that the gamers can be just as happy about, like makes me excited.
yeah, yeah. I look, this show, I was very fearful for it because every time, everyone is saying, "Nah, for example, the Resident Evil Netflix show, that was horrible. I'm sorry."
I couldn't
That
get
was
past an episode. I tried so hard.
Yeah.
I wanted to come
I
to
watched
see
2 episodes and I couldn't take it. I put myself through the Halo show. I
it.
watched it. That's hours that I will never get back. It's so disrespectful to the fans. And just to see, HBO actually care for the fans. Like, that really just, like, made me extremely happy. And I remember, like, when we were in New York and we were talking about The Last of Us and everything, like, my number one thing was, like, I just hope that they actually, make us fans proud, because I've seen too much garbage for the last couple of years when it comes to, like, adaptations. And man, like, if again, I'm gonna say it, if episode 9 delivers on the little tones that made The Last of Us special and actually controversial back in the day with certain things that happen, um, yeah, we're in for a treat. But yeah, it's just, as a fan, I'm happy, and I don't know, like, if I can say thank you 1,000 times to Neil Druckmann, man,
Oh
and
my
to Craig
god.
Mason for what they have done. Wow, just wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just him being tied to it, and then Craig Mason's phenomenal by himself, and then like just like I said, having Neil attached to this, it just feels like they actually care about what they're giving us, and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like the
Every
perfect fan
episode
service.
is like a love letter to The
Yeah.
Last of Us fans. And even the episodes that I didn't like them like that much, like for example, episode 4, and I actually agree with you on certain things. Like, there's certain episodes, or at least this episode could have been longer. Episode 4 should have been longer in my opinion. And they could have showcased other things too. But I don't know. I mean, even though the things that I didn't like, I still enjoyed the journey. And yeah.
It's
So
like the only little complaints I had were the ranch episode because they completely cut out the whole water fight, Joel and Tommy, when he doesn't find Tommy in the village. He finds him at the, what do you call it? The
oh, the plant, the
plant. It's like a
electric
power
plant.
plant.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so they kind of eliminated that whole part, and that would have gave like Tommy a little more screen time.
Yeah.
But in the overall like big picture, it's not a huge
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
not a huge deal.
Yeah.
I did miss some of the action. Yeah, this show could have been had a little more action, a little bit more infected here, there. It could have had, more time with Ellie and Joel. Yes, 100%. But at least for the product that we got, I'm not complaining.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not
Still
complaining.
9.5 out of 10.
Oh yeah, easily. This show is easily as a whole for now, at least a 9 out of 10,
Mhm.
9.5. No doubt. Yeah.
But let us know what you guys think. Definitely follow AP Nerds and let us know your thoughts. And tune in for next week.